Imagine waking up tomorrow with $1 million in your bank account. Now imagine losing every single dollar just 1 year later. It sounds impossible, but it has happened thousands of times. Because the biggest battle in making money isn't happening in the stock market, inside a business, or even in your bank account. It's happening inside your own mind. And the people who understand the secret rarely talk about it. A young man walks into a luxury car dealership. He's finally made his first serious money after years of hard work. The salesman smiles. The polished cars sparkle under the lights. Within an hour, he's driving away in a vehicle that costs more than his parents earned in several years. He feels unstoppable, successful, powerful. But what he doesn't realize is that this purchase isn't proof that he's rich. It's proof that his psychology has already begun changing. And that tiny shift in thinking is about to cost him far more than the price of the car. Money has always been treated like a math problem. People believe that if they learn enough about investing, budgeting, or entrepreneurship, they'll become wealthy. But reality tells a different story. Lottery winners often end up broke. Professional athletes earning tens of millions file for bankruptcy. Business owners who once dominated industries lose everything. Meanwhile, ordinary people quietly build fortunes without making headlines. So, if intelligence isn't the answer, what is? The truth lies much deeper than numbers. Thousands of years ago, humans evolved to survive danger, not to build wealth. Our brains learned to react instantly to fear, uncertainty, and opportunity. Those instincts kept us alive when predators were hiding in the dark. But today, those same instincts quietly sabotage our financial decisions. Every time the market crashes, our brain screams, "Run!" Every time everyone else gets rich overnight, it whispers, "Don't miss out." The enemy isn't the economy, it's the wiring inside our heads. But the real problem was just beginning. Picture two friends who start their careers on the same day. They earn identical salaries, they live in the same city, they even have similar dreams. 10 years later, one owns multiple investments, has financial freedom, and sleeps peacefully at night. The other is buried in debt, constantly stressed, and wondering where all the money went. The difference wasn't income, it wasn't luck, it wasn't education. It was thousands of tiny psychological decisions made every single day. One friend delayed gratification, the other chased instant pleasure. One understood that every dollar had soldiers hidden inside it, capable of producing more dollars. The other believed money existed to impress people. One invested before spending. The other spent first and hoped there would be something left. Neither decision felt dramatic in the moment, but over time, those tiny habits became completely different lives, and the gap only kept growing wider. Our brains love rewards. Every notification, every purchase, every compliment gives us a small hit of dopamine. Buying something expensive feels amazing. Watching your investments quietly grow feels boring. That's why so many people choose the excitement of spending over the invisible power of compounding. The tragedy is that your brain mistakes temporary pleasure for permanent happiness, and by the time you realize the difference, years have already disappeared. Then something unexpected happens. A financial crisis arrives. Maybe it's a recession. Maybe it's inflation. Maybe a company collapses overnight. Suddenly, fear spreads faster than facts. News channels flash terrifying headlines. Social media fills with panic. Friends start selling everything. Families stop investing. Perfectly rational people begin making completely irrational decisions. Why? Because fear is contagious. And fear doesn't care about logic. During every major market crash in history, millions of investors sold at exactly the wrong moment. Prices fell, panic increased, more people sold. It became a cycle feeding itself. Months later, when markets recovered, Many of those same people bought back at much higher prices. They didn't lose because they lacked knowledge. They lost because emotions hijacked their decisions. What happened next shocked almost everyone. Now imagine another person watching the exact same crash. Instead of panicking, they stay calm. They remember history. They understand that markets have survived wars, recessions, political crises, and global pandemics. They don't see collapsing prices as disaster, they see discounts. While everyone else is running away, they're quietly buying. Years later, the same event people remember as terrifying becomes the reason they achieved financial freedom. This is one of the strangest truths about money. The greatest opportunities almost never feel safe. They feel uncomfortable, risky, lonely. That's because psychology pushes the crowd in one direction, while wealth often waits in the opposite one. But fear isn't the only emotion that destroys fortunes. Greed is even more dangerous because it disguises itself as confidence. Imagine hearing about someone who turned $10,000 into 1 million in cryptocurrency, or someone who bought a stock that multiplied 20 times in a year. Suddenly, everyone wants in. Your coworkers talk about it, your neighbors brag about it. Social media makes it look effortless. You begin questioning yourself. What if you're missing the opportunity of a lifetime? This feeling has a name: fear of missing out, and it has emptied more bank accounts than almost any recession. When people stop asking whether an investment makes sense and start asking only how fast they can get rich, psychology takes control. Logic quietly leaves the room. History repeats itself. Prices rise because everyone is buying. More headlines attract more buyers. Those buyers push prices even higher. Confidence becomes arrogance. Caution disappears completely. But nobody could have predicted how quickly everything would reverse. Then one small piece of bad news appears. One investor sells, then another. Suddenly, everyone who wanted to buy yesterday desperately wants to sell today. The bubble bursts. The people who entered last lose the most because they weren't investing, they were chasing emotions. This cycle has happened with tulips, real estate, internet stocks, cryptocurrencies, and countless other assets. The names change, the technology changes, but human psychology never does. Here's something even stranger. Many people believe making money changes your personality. In reality, money usually reveals it. Give a generous person more money, and they often become even more generous. Give an insecure person more money, and they often spend even more trying to prove themselves. Give a patient person more capital, and they usually invest even more wisely. Money doesn't create habits, it amplifies the ones already hiding beneath the surface. And that's where the real battle begins. Because earning money is one skill, keeping it is another, growing it is something entirely different. History is filled with people who mastered the first skill but failed the other two. Professional athletes sign contracts worth hundreds of millions. Musicians sell out stadiums. Entrepreneurs build billion-dollar companies. Yet many still end up with nothing, not because they lacked intelligence, because success changed their psychology faster than it changed their wisdom. Lifestyle inflation quietly enters their lives. A bigger house, a faster car, luxury vacations, private schools, designer clothes. Every upgrade feels deserved. Every purchase seems reasonable. But slowly, freedom disappears. The income grows, the expenses grow even faster. Soon they aren't working because they want to. They're working because they have no choice. The prison doesn't have bars, it has monthly payments. But the most dangerous trap is almost invisible. It's called comparison. Imagine standing in a neighborhood where every house is larger than yours. Yesterday you loved your home. Today it suddenly feels too small. Nothing actually changed except your perspective. Comparison quietly rewrites satisfaction. It convinces successful people their failures simply because someone else owns more. The race never ends because there's always someone richer, someone younger, someone more famous, someone making headlines. If your happiness depends on beating everyone else, you'll never feel wealthy, no matter how much money you accumulate. This single realization changes everything. Some of the richest people in the world still chase more because enough is a moving target. Meanwhile, others retire comfortably with far less because they discovered something priceless: enough. That word has created more peace than millions of extra dollars ever could. But reaching that mindset requires something our brains naturally resist: patience. Compounding is almost magical. At first, nothing seems to happen. Growth feels painfully slow. You question whether it's working at all. Years pass. Then suddenly the curve bends upward. The results become extraordinary. The hardest part isn't mathematics, it's surviving the long period when success is invisible. Most people quit right before the magic begins because our brains crave immediate proof. The market doesn't provide it, business doesn't provide it, life rarely provides it. And yet, those who keep going often appear lucky to everyone watching from the outside. Luck is another fascinating illusion. People see someone becoming wealthy and assume they were fortunate. They don't see the decades of discipline, the sleepless nights, the failed investments, the businesses that collapsed, the sacrifices nobody applauded. Success looks sudden only to people who weren't watching the beginning. Then comes the moment every ambitious person dreams about. Financial success finally arrives. The bank account grows larger than they ever imagined. Friends admire them. Family celebrates. Doors begin opening. But an unexpected emotion appears: anxiety. The fear of losing what they've built becomes stronger than the joy of having it. Now every investment feels terrifying. Every downturn feels personal. Every mistake feels catastrophic. Ironically, the more money people have, the more emotionally difficult decisions can become, because now there's something valuable to protect. This is why emotional resilience matters more than financial brilliance. The best investors aren't fearless, they're prepared. They expect uncertainty. They know losses will happen. They know mistakes are inevitable. Instead of trying to avoid discomfort, they learn to survive it. That single mindset separates people who build lasting wealth from those who constantly start over. Think about the greatest entrepreneurs. Most failed multiple times before succeeding, not because they enjoyed failure, because they refused to let failure define them. Every setback became information, every loss became tuition, every mistake became experience. Psychology transformed pain into progress. Without that mental shift, success would never have arrived. Now imagine your financial life as a giant iceberg. Above the water sits everything people can see: your income, your investments, your business, your possessions. Below the surface lies everything that actually controls the iceberg: your beliefs, your fears, your patience, your habits, your confidence, your discipline. People spend years polishing the visible part while completely ignoring the foundation beneath it. Then they wonder why everything eventually collapses. Here's one final story. An elderly janitor quietly worked for decades. He never appeared on television, he never drove luxury cars, he never bragged about money. His co-workers assumed he was struggling because of his simple lifestyle. After he passed away, they discovered he had accumulated millions through patient investing and decades of consistency. No flashy business, no viral success, no lottery ticket, just ordinary decisions repeated over an extraordinary amount of time. Meanwhile, countless people who looked rich had almost nothing left once the bills arrived. Appearance and wealth are rarely the same thing. The loudest millionaire in the room often isn't the richest. The truly wealthy frequently look surprisingly ordinary because they understand something the world constantly forgets. Money is a tool, not a performance. The psychology of making money has never been about finding the perfect stock, discovering a secret business, or predicting the next economic boom. It's about mastering the person staring back at you in the mirror. Every investment, every purchase, every risk, and every opportunity passes through one filter before it changes your life: your mind. The people who build lasting wealth aren't those with the highest IQ or the biggest paycheck. They're the ones who stay calm when others panic, remain patient when others chase shortcuts, stay humble when success arrives, and keep learning when everyone else believes they've already won. In the end, your greatest financial asset isn't your salary, your portfolio, or your business. It's your ability to think clearly when emotions are screaming the loudest. Because fortunes are rarely built by the market alone. They're built, protected, and multiplied inside the invisible battlefield of human psychology.